It has been honestly one hell of a year, and I think we're all feeling it. I think whether you live in the US or not, every country is being hit by this collective energy, this wave of uncertainty, of distrust, of restlessness, and there's really, really good reason for that. So today I'm going to really break down specifically what has been happening in the US the last couple weeks and what we can expect moving forward. Specifically what I saw today was moving into 2028. So 2026, 27, and then 28. And hopefully it gives you a little bit of reassurance for what we're all experiencing right now. And I mean, I guess in my mind, it's like, why do I do these videos, right? Like I'm a remote viewer. I can look into absolutely anything on and off planet. Why am I spending my time right now looking at the US and giving you guys an update about politics? And I think for me, I'm curious, but I also think that so many people get sucked into the narrative that I'm here to pull you out of it. And you're getting sucked in for very good reason. There is some crazy shit happening, and there's a lot of angry people out there, and you may be sitting there really angry and finding yourself on one side or the other, and that's okay. That is totally okay. I'm coming at this from neither side. I am just objectively observing. In fact, if I don't have an objective perspective on what I'm remote viewing, I just simply don't remote view it, right? I want to make sure that you guys understand that I try and limit the amount of front loading as much as possible. And what I mean by that is when you're remote viewing, you have to be objectively aware. If you do not have an objective perspective when you're remote viewing something, then your own preconceived notion is going to skew the results of what you end up gathering, the information that you gather. So I know that there are certain things, especially in my own life, that I'm way too emotionally caught up in or emotionally invested in that I simply am not able to remote view. Luckily, I am super neutral when it comes to world stuff, financial stuff, economic stuff, political stuff. It's not that I don't care, it's that I'm more curious and I don't really choose a side. I really don't choose a side. And in that way, I can remote view it pretty clearly. So today I've got tons of information that came through when I was remote viewing the United States, what is happening, what has happened, and what will happen in the future. As always, you guys, please take it or leave it. This is just what I see. If it resonates with you, it's for you. If it doesn't resonate with you, no big deal. This information is not for you at this time. Go ahead and move on, okay? Please keep the chat and the comments not neutral, because share your opinion, but just please be kind. Not to me, because I don't really care, but be kind to each other, okay? Because this is a melting pot. This community is a melting pot for a reason, because we are quantum beings who can hold two different perspectives simultaneously, and isn't that a beautiful thing? All right. Okay, so let's talk about what is happening, and then let's talk about what I did to get the information, and then we're going to dive right into the information. A lot of stuff is happening right now. So right now, currently, we are November 10th. This is the longest government shutdown in history, apparently, according to the internet, so don't quote me on that. And really, the dispute and the government shutdown is about the federal budget. I don't know much about it. I'm just kind of stating what is going on right now, and then we're going to deep dive into why it's happening. And then there's also some major controversy over the recently elected New York mayor, Zohran Mamdani. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. So a lot of people view him as extreme. So accusations of extremism or even anti-Semitism. So he's got a lot of like very socialist-based beliefs. He wants to make a lot of things free, like, for example, a free bus transit system, which sounds great in theory, but in practice, how are we actually going to apply that, and who's going to be paying for sort of a free transit system, and is it going to be safe for everyone if we do apply that? So there are a lot of questions that are coming up with sort of his views and beliefs, and it's important that we kind of talk about this guy and what's going on and why it's so polarizing, because there's a theme that's taking place in the United States right now that is sort of mirroring this recent election in New York. And then there's also a massive financial market impact as well. So apparently, based on this government shutdown, we are adding $1.8 trillion to the annual debt. Doesn't that sound like a great thing? Who cares? I mean, what is money? What is a number on a screen? I don't even know anymore, right? Like, do we even have gold bars locked away in the Federal Reserve? No, absolutely not, because I've already remote viewed the Federal Reserve and there was nothing going on in there. So what is money? But, you know, the financial markets are being impacted by the government shutdown. And then on October 20th, there was construction that got started on the east wing of the White House. So Donald Trump is tearing down part of the White House. There's a lot of people up in arms about this, which is, there's a lot to be said about this, and we're gonna go into it. And then also what happened in the last month, there was another really big No Kings protest. I don't know how many people, but I think upwards of 1 million or multi-million people were protesting against Donald Trump all around the United States, further sort of embellishing the fact that we've got a divide, we've got polarity here, and this isn't just based in the US. We are seeing divide everywhere, all over the world right now, and I think it's just reaching a pitch point here in the USA. I'm Canadian, so I do like observing these things, like I said, more objectively. I don't believe in voting. I've never voted before in Canada or the US. Don't come at me for that. It's just, I can't contribute to a system I don't believe in. So here's what I did to look into everything that's happening. So I remote viewed, which means I got into a state of, sort of a meditative state, and then I wanted to observe sort of the state or the situation of the USA as a whole. And you can do that as a remote viewer. You can observe one individual and gain access to information, or you can observe an entire nation and gain access to information, which is what I did. I also wanted to specifically look into its timelines. Like, where are we at in the USA? Are we aligned to our collective contracts? Say our blueprints for the country? You know, where are we at with that? There was a lot of information that came through. I wrote it all down, so I will be reading off my notes. Now, interestingly enough, the first thing that came through was an image of the White House collapsing. It was sort of a metaphorical image of the White House itself, like breaking in half. Now, yes, I know the East Wing is being torn down, so that could be more of a literal reference, but I don't think it was. The information that I gathered from that is that there is a breaking down of the traditional systems right now, and Donald Trump literally tearing down part of the White House is such a deep metaphorical and now literal representation of what is happening right now. And then it was so weird. I got this image, like this flashback to to a room with a bunch of old stuffy men, and they were signing this contract. And from what I understand, it was the Declaration of Independence, or whatever the contract was, to really initiate the United States as its own separate colony. And this was back in, what, 1776 or something? And what's really fascinating is there is a lot of mirroring energetically. This is what I was picking up on, okay? Once again, take it or leave it. But there's a lot of mirroring of what is happening right now in 2025 And what happened back in, once again, don't quote me on it, but I believe 1776, okay, or somewhere around there. And so I kind of asked, what are these themes? Like, what is the mirroring that's happening? Yeah, endings and beginnings, and then emphasis on change, identity, collective dynamics, freedom, and community, okay? So this huge emphasis on the people. Finally, an emphasis on the people. And unfortunately, what we're seeing right now is the emphasis is, what do we want? And back when the United States was founded, it was, well, we don't really know what we want. We want freedom, for sure, but we know for sure what we don't want. And what we don't want is we don't want to be a part of the crown. We don't want to be a part of England anymore. We want to be our own established thing. And this is happening right now. And you have to realize that in order to understand what you do want versus what you don't want, you need to have a clear understanding of either side. And right now it seems like the collective of the United States, right, the community here, they have no idea what they want. But what I'm seeing in both of these sides, both of these polarity angles, is they know what they don't want. One side knows that they don't want the other side, and the other side knows that they don't want the other side. And that's why there's so much polarity and disagreement, because they know what they don't want. No one really seems to know what they do want. But that's going to actually change in the next couple of years, which was fascinating. Now, this was really clear that came through. People are finding their voice again. People are finding their voice again. And I love this. I don't love the polarity, but it's so true. For the first time ever, you have those people who've always been keyboard warriors, or maybe been the person to just kind of sit back and maybe they vote every 4 years and they just sort of let the government do their thing. And all of a sudden, people are coming together. They're rallying. They are coming together around a common cause. Now, we've got two very distinct groups of people coming together. That is fine. But people are starting to stand up and use their voice again for the first time in a very, very long time, potentially since the founding of this country. Okay, what else did I put down here? Oh yeah, okay, cool. So people are finding their voice again. Eventually, that voice will be directed in the same place. And this came through very, very strongly. So I have hope and I'm excited about this. So once again, recognize what you don't want in order to create change. So this could be unity against Trump. So that was one of the things that came up. There's going to be a certain level of unity that both sides end up having. Something's going to happen to create unity between the left and the right, if we just kind of put it in simple terms. Obviously, there's a lot more complex dynamics happening, but let's just say there's a left and there's a right, and eventually there's going to be one thing or one person or one country or one event that is going to take place to bring both sides together. So I didn't see for sure that it was going to be around Trump, but there is a speculation that it could potentially be around Trump. And the year that I got specifically was 2027 to 2028. So we got to wait a little bit. 2026 is going to bring about more extremism, more polarity, more using our voice, more standing up for what we believe in, more finding our group, I guess. But eventually those groups are going to accumulate enough people, and eventually they're just going to absorb each other. It's kind of like looking at like droplets of water on your windshield, and then they just form one big droplet. I don't know. I don't know why that just comes to mind. But unity. The theme here is unity. Now, if it's not Trump, it's going to be an external factor. It could be another country. It could be aliens, right? It's going to be something that is going to bring both sides together in more of a unified approach, okay? So that's exciting. We got a little bit of hope coming our way. All right. Hopefully it's just one giant solar flash that like awakens everyone immediately, unlocks all of our DNA, and then we all see the truth that this is a whole bunch of garbage and we can come together on the only thing that really matters, which is, yeah, like everyone having access to housing and water and food, and then with that sort of stability, we can then access higher realms of consciousness. I mean, really, truly, that would be great. However, I think we're still gonna see a little bit more density when it comes to what's gonna unify us. But like I said, just speculation here. Let's talk about the New York mayor, okay? This guy that just got elected. There's just a lot of extreme division around him. So I wanted to look into this a little bit more. So there's extreme division because he's presenting extreme solutions. I put a question mark behind solutions. I'm not necessarily talking about what he's bringing up as like, this is it, this is gonna be what solves all of our problems. But in his mind, and for the people who voted for him, he is presenting solutions that they think are going to work, okay? So here's the thing. When a controversial figure like that, or like Trump, pops into our reality and affects us, affects inflation, affects the stock market, affects things that really actually matter and count to us, like the housing market or the price of groceries, right? We finally start to question things. If those are not the solutions that we believe are going to impact humanity for the better, then what are the solutions that will? So it's kind of like what came up when I was remote viewing was when you have an allergic reaction to something and you don't know what's triggering that allergy, you start to eliminate things in your diet. Process of elimination. This is what society is going through, both at a collective level, at a nation-state level, but then also at a global level as well. We, the people around the world, are starting to experience extreme leaders, you could say, okay, people in positions of power, or even extreme influencers. And then once we're presented with that extreme belief, or that extreme solution in their mind, we can then sort of discern and use our critical thinking to assess whether or not we believe that that's going to work. 20 years ago, things were okay. Things seemed a lot better than they were right now. But that's because we gave way too much of our trust up to the powers that be. Like, oh yeah, cool, the government's got it taken care of. I voted for my guy and I'm just gonna trust that he's got it figured out. Not anymore, right? This New York mayor, he won by apparently 50.4% of the vote. That's insane, right? So talk about division. If it's not the solutions he's presenting, then what is it? And by process of elimination, we need to start experiencing the polarity solutions, like the shutting down of the government to be like, what are we gonna agree on? What is gonna work? And if we think it's gonna work, then what's not gonna work? And eventually we, the people, need to ask ourselves, not what the other side is doing, but what is gonna be best for all of us collectively. Not what's best for Republicans, not what's best for Democrats, what's best for all of us, okay? So people need to see both extremes right now in order to agree on a middle ground. That's what 2025, 2026 is gonna be all about. 2027 is gonna bring us together, apparently is what I saw. So polarity and extremism are gonna get worse, and then 2028, things should get a little bit better. All right, once again, this event. An event will bring people together. I want to just remind you too, because I know a lot of you don't show up to my events, but I do a monthly remote viewing where I ask our friends up there off planet, because they're pretty neutral about things, what is going on? And last month, I actually went and I remote viewed a top secret military facility. It's kind of like the shadow government, but the opposite. Some people call them the white hats. Anyway, I remote viewed them in my Galactic Federation Summit, and they went deep into what the shadow government is planning right now. And they predicted all of this. Specifically, they said, so power struggles they went into. They were talking about the shadow government creating resource battles, literally fake resource battles all over the world and then centrally in the USA. And then the depopulation agenda, which we've heard of before, but once again, they are continuing this. They're continuing with like chemicals and poisons in our air and our food. So if you want to know more about what the White Hats said, head over to the website and check out season 2025, episode 10 of the Galactic Federation meeting. We like deep dove into all of that. And it's interesting because what they were talking about lines up with what I'm seeing right now. So what does that mean for all of us? Whew, I'm getting hot. Okay, it means that we have to ride the wave. It means that right now we are mirroring what's happening at a collective level, at an individual level. It means that most likely, I'm just gonna put out a wild guess, that in your own life, you are experiencing division. You are experiencing polarity. You are experiencing people who just don't see your side. You are experiencing a split reality where you have a choice to make. Maybe it's a choice around your relationship. Maybe it's a choice around your job. Maybe it's a choice around who you want to be moving forward. Whatever it is, there are multiple different timelines at play right now. And what I urge you all to do is not to get sucked into the collective timeline. If you feel like standing up and shouting from the rooftop and talking about what you believe in, then go for it, because there's a soul calling there. But eventually you might change your beliefs and find more of a path in unity than polarity. It's okay to be polarized as long as we eventually find unity. And you're obviously on this channel for a reason, getting good insights, but hopefully getting a little bit of that residual unifying energy as well. We can deep dive into the third dimension, and then we can neutralize it by objectively observing it and perceiving it not in a polarity way, but in a way that understands that everything that's happening right now is happening for a reason, and it is aligned to our highest timelines and contracts. The White House, the USA as we know it, is dying, and it needs to for a reason, because it was literally built on a house of cards, and that house of cards is collapsing. And as we see all of the cards collapsing within the USA, within the global political arena in general, we have a very important question to answer, we the people, which is, what do we want? Not what do you want? Not what do I want? What do we want? For everyone, collectively, what does that look like? Once we can agree, and I'm thinking it's going to be basic needs. Once we can agree on basic needs for everyone, and we can agree that, yeah, everyone deserves freedom of speech, but also everyone deserves access to shelter and water and food, and groceries that are decently priced, you know? Once we can agree on that, then we can come together in unity. So what I recommend is try and stay away from the polarity, try and find unity in your own life, and the easiest way to go back into 0-point neutrality is through gratitude. Find some aspect of your life, of your day, in this crazy, crazy mess we're in the middle of to appreciate. And sometimes it's a blooming flower, or the giggle of your child, or the smile a stranger gives you, you know? Take these precious moments, be present with them, hold them near and dear to your heart, try not to remove yourself but engage yourself in the right ways. If you guys liked this, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Definitely subscribe to the channel. And right now we've got a massive giveaway. If you've been very anxious about everything that's happening right now, then be sure to pre-order my next book called Your Anxiety is Giving Me Anxiety. And we've got a massive giveaway, so if you pre-order that book, send us the receipt of your pre-order. We will send you a really incredible anxiety giveaway kit, 12 anxiety-based videos, and a 24-page workbook that's really gonna get you through these tough times. All right, guys, you're not alone. We're in this together, and we're gonna get through this. And it is gonna be better, I promise. It's gotta get worse before it gets better, but it will get better, so hang in there. All right. I will see all of you tomorrow for the next Galactic Federation meeting.